motherfucking house just to reach on the phone. I am a motherfucking man, motherfucking passion, and I give a fuck. They're letting motherfuckers know how to make money. So what's
Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 Shriners Hospital and Children's Open, my ownership projections, my pivots, my sleepers, and oh yes, my winners. Let's get into this. So first off, just I provided a first look show yesterday, but just for folks that might have missed it, just give you some quick knowledge. This is played in Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. It is the TPC Summerlin, known as a Summy, and it is a par 71, playing at 7,243 yards. You got bent greens, Bermuda fairways, tees, and rough. Typically, are going to be dormant. The rough is very easy to get out of. The greens are going to be slower than what we've been seeing, especially from last weekend at the Sanderson Farms, where they run at 13 to 13 and a half. Typically run around 11. The protection on this golf course is sand all over in the sand bunkers and just very, very little water. Some past winners, you had Kevin Na, who gained over 14 strokes putting. That's how he won. But typically when you look at the past winners, from Patrick Cantlay to DeChambeau, these guys just had an amazing approach game and off the tee, just total strokes gained from tee to green. Decent with the putter, but not a Kevin Na kind of thing. So you can win here both ways, but typically what we are going to be focusing on is the guys that have the best approach. If you think about, if you can hit your tee ball pretty much anywhere and find it and easily get out of the rough, yes, distance will still come into effect, but it's who can actually hit the closest iron shots to give you the most opportunities. That's the guys that we will be focusing on. And I kind of just discussed all that. This was all the kind of top categories that was pulled. So again, driving accuracy, not as important, but greens and regulation definitely is. Ball striking, and amazing enough, the sand saves is a key indicator of past winners. So what's the model say? So I ran a few models and pulled the top 20. And what I do here is, this is from Fantasy National, and I'm looking for correlation through these different models that I pull. And so the first one was, let's look at the top 20 players that just played TPC Summerlin. And so you're going to get a little bit skewed from that, because you've got guys that have played like a Webb Simpson 28 rounds. Then you have guys that have never played here, like I believe Morikawa, maybe even Wolf. But it still just gleams some guys that have past success here. And so that's who's highlighted. You see the Webb Simpsons, the Finaus, the Massiamas, again, great iron players. And then even Doc Redman, also a great iron play, and also does very well off the tee. The next model I went and ran was comp courses. So this was now putting the filters in, and also, looking at bent grass, par 71, easy to hit fairways. So putting the different conditions in that typically represent this course. And it gave me about 6 or 7 courses. I think 4 of them were TPC courses. And a few others, but the key is these are all have the same kind of general layout, length, greens, and then again just looking. And so again, the key indicators that I've been looking at was approach was heavily weighted at 15%. You can see up top here. You still got to have putters. Sand saves is weighted. Typically, I never really look at sand saves, but it is a very high key indicator. Greens and reg, fairways game. Still want to see people hitting some fairways. Par 5 scoring. The proximities that came up were 200 plus guys going for eagles. You got the 125, 150, trying to get the proximity close for the birdies. How many birdies? Ball striking, and then also I did weight some off the tee, because again, I don't think length is going to be the end all be all, but it is definitely going to help. But again, I think it's going to come down to who strikes the irons the best. And so again, you'll see some folks that popped up, very similar ones. But Morikawa popped up on this one, as I mentioned. He does have some history at some comp courses, but not so much as Summerlin. And then Paul Casey, which I think is interesting, because he is probably good length, very accurate, and an amazing iron player. So he comes up again in this one. So now this is just looking at recent form, still with those filters applied. So the past 36 rounds, so since the restart. And again, you're getting the same guys popping up over and over. And then again, this is one just looking at who's the best iron players in this field. Again, with all the same filters, recent history, and again, those same guys pop up. Russell Henley, I think, is the one that I think he popped up in the last two. So we'll also look at him. So the top 5 chalkiest players right now. So this is being recorded on a Tuesday around 2 p.m. Eastern. And right now coming in at ownership projections at the highest is no shocker, Bryson DeChambeau. And again, I always like to make this note that I am not saying don't play these guys. I'm just saying we're going to find some good pivots. And again, you know, definitely there's all reasons to play these guys, but just make sure you don't heavily load. And if you can make some pivots and adjust, again, you're going to gain leverage on the field. And this is always kind of positioned towards the largest GPP game, which this week is with DraftKings is you can win 100 grand if you win it all. So anyways, and I think there's about 48,000 entries that can be up to. So you're at a field of 48,000. We got to find some leverage. So really, you cannot argue Bryson. He's the most expensive golfer. He's coming in at 21% owned, but bent is his worst putting surface. Of course, he's coming off the win at the U.S. Open, but hasn't played in a couple weeks. So there could be a little bit of rust, but he loves it at Shriners, has a 4th, a 1st, a 7th, and a 36. Great recent form, as we already know. But I kind of looked, the approach before the U.S. Open was quite a bit off. And I also looked at the putting is not his best surface. And also, I just have a thing where I just do not like to play the highest, most expensive golfer. For whatever reason, last week it was Scotty Scheffler. You can track it back. Whoever is the #1 most expensive player, on average, typically does not win. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say they don't have some points for you, that they're not going to make the cut. But they typically, the value just doesn't weigh out. So from a price perspective, I'm not saying I'm not going to have any Bryson, but I'll have some minimal Bryson. The next one coming up, which, you know, I think is a great fit again, is Webb Simpson. He's coming at 19%. He's at 11K. Again, bent is his worst surface, but, you know, pretty close to neutral. He has an 8th, coming off an 8th at the U.S. Open, a 12th at the Tour Championship, a 6th at Northern Trust, a 3rd at Wyndham. Great recent form, and also has done well at this track. He's got a 7th as of recent, then a 15th, a 20th. He won it back in 2013, so that's, you know, that's 7 years ago. And he had a 4th in 2014. So his really good recent form at this course has been a ways back. But again, I think, again, a great iron striker, great putter. We're also going to need guys to go low. So, again, I mentioned on the first look show, like last year, the winning score was 23 under. Previous year was 21 under. And then there was this anomaly in 2018 where it was a 9 under winning total. And that was just due to crazy winds. The greens got super firm, so did the fairways, and so the scores. But other than that, typically we look at this. We do have a lot of data on the tour being at this course that, you know, you're going to need to go low. And that's guys that can putt, they can hit really close approach shots. And again, all these guys off the tee, you know, are averaging around 280. Even, you know, the guys that we say aren't the bombers. So not a huge concern. Matthew Wolff. So, you know, I kind of look at this as your, I don't want to say Bryson light, but, you know, very similar games. He's coming in right now, the highest ownership projection at 23%, 9,600. Again, bent is his worst surface. But you know, recent form is awesome, with a 2nd at the U.S. Open, a 4th at the PGA. And he has played here once before, and he had an 18th. So again, all good reasons why you'd want to play him. But we'll have some looks to see how we can maybe look to pivot. And then Cam Davis, just coming in under him at almost 23% ownership. And this is no shocker for the price. You know, I mentioned this for last weekend, that at the Sanderson Farms, you know, the guy, you know, I think he got 103 fantasy points the last weekend. Even though he kind of choked it off on Sunday, he's a point getter. And that's really the short of it. The guy makes eagles. He makes a lot of birdies. You know, will he win? That's a whole different conversation. Typically seems to fade on the weekends a little bit. But, you know, good recent form. And he has played at the Shriners before in 2018, not last year, but the previous year. He had a 28th. And then Doc Redman, another really good fit. I kind of mentioned the guys that typically win here, you know, are amazing tee to green and really good with their approach shots. He's coming at 22%, 9,700. And bent actually is his best surface. So that's kind of interesting and a good recent form. And, you know, he does have some miscuts during those past 6 events, but he also has a 28th at this past week and a 3rd at the Safeway, and a 3rd at Wyndham, which is going back a little bit. And yeah. All right, so my top 5 pivots against the chalkiest. Tony Finau coming in at 14.9% ownership projection. He's at 10-2. Ben is his best putting surface. You know, he had an 8th at the U.S. Open, a 17th at the Tour Championship, a 5th at the BMW under very tough conditions, and a 4th at the PGA. He did have a miscut at the Northern Trust, but you know, quite a few guys did. It was just kind of odd. Either you had Justin, who just, you know, boat raced everybody, or, you know, you had guys that missed a cut. And he's also got a deep history at Shriners. He's got a 9th, a 7th, and then sprinkle in there, you know, some 36th, a 16th, a 41st. I really like Tony. I will be pivoting. He'll probably be my main pivot off of Bryson. And then my main pivot off Webb Simpson's could be Morikawa. Kind of shocked that, you know, Morikawa is not priced a little higher, but like I said, he doesn't have a past history here, but he's also newer on the tour. The last time he missed a cut, which, you know, he had a miscut at the U.S. Open, he came out and won at the workday. He also lives in Vegas. I think that's a huge thing when you are in your own bed and sleeping and, you know, going to the course. And I would have to guess he's had to play this course quite a bit leading up to this. I mean, like I said, hasn't played in a couple weeks, so actually a few weeks. I'm sure he has some time to do a lot of practice, get things right. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be shifting some shares to Morikawa. And then Matsuyama, you know, back to the, you know, the great tee to green, great iron players. I think he's a great pivot off of Wolf, and you know, 11% ownership, save some money. All putting services for him is, you know, when you do look at the stats, they're all negative to some degree, but bent is just slightly negative. But he's really turned the putter around over the last few rounds. And, you know, I kind of mentioned on previous shows where he was working with his short game coach and they found something. He didn't mention what it was, but he did find something. He's gained confidence. So the thing with Mats that's always held him back is the putter. Same with Garcia, who just won. And he does have a really good past history at the Shriners, a 16th and a 10th. So definitely be shifting. And then Scheffler, which I'm guessing because of his, you know, last appearance just this past weekend. But his game, you could actually literally see from day to day got better. As I kind of mentioned, he came off the first day just hooking everything and kind of worked his way through that, had a good Sunday. He's got great recent form. He has played at the Shriners once before. He got a 74th, but, you know, bent is his best surface. So, you know, we're going to hope that this translates over and be shifting a little bit of the Cameron Davis over to Scheffler, which they're very, I think, kind of similar, where they both typically score if they, you know, go the whole 4 days in the 100-point range. So it's just, you know, a way to gain some leverage on the field there. And also he's at least played recently, where we're going to have quite a few guys. You know, all these guys pretty much on here haven't played in a few weeks. So then my last pivot off that chalk would be Paul Casey, a master with the irons, you know, good distance. People don't think of him as a bomber, but the guy can hit the ball and he's crazy accurate. Ben is his best putting surface. He gains almost, you know, a quarter of a stroke. Good recent form. I wouldn't say awesome, but good. I mean, a 17th at the U.S. Open, a 16th at the BMW, a 2nd at the PGA, but he's never played Shriners. But if memory serves me correct, he lives in Arizona. I'm looking at the guys who live in either Vegas or in Arizona who probably play a lot of golf in similar conditions to do well here. So I'm looking for Paul to do well. All right, so additional pivots that I'm liking, HV3, Harold Varner. He's coming at 11%. So, you know, I wouldn't say chalky, but he's getting up there. But 75, but, you know, again, great length, great irons to approach. His putter is what typically lets him down. Pretty decent recent form. And he has played the Shriners 5 times with a top of the 15th being his best in 2018. He had a miscut, I think, all his first time playing it, but so I'm liking some HV3. Harris English, I think he's been one of the most solid golfers we've had. If you look at that second at Northern Trust, if it wasn't for Dustin Johnson going out and shooting 30 under just boat race in the field, he would have won hands down. But at fourth at the U.S. Open, a 12th at the Tour Championship, and he does have a pretty good past history here with his best finish. I think 2017 was a fourth, a 36 last year, and then miscut in 2018. So I'm going to be pivoting to Harris English. Again, if you think of great tee to green players, Kokrak, I'm great, but very well. Can get the distance, good irons. Again, the putter typically will hold him back, but has a lot of history here at the Shriners and a good recent form. So look to Kokrak with that kind of ownership right now. A little pricey for Kokrak, to be honest, 8,900, but you get the leverage at that. And then Russell Henley, one of the best iron players, and he was popping in the model as you saw. He's at 11%, but again, still a good pivot. Bent is a positive surface. He's got a good recent form and also has a good past history with a 10th back, it looks like 2016, but a 37th and a 24th with, looks like a couple miscuts too. So now it's time to gamble. So the sleepers is, I always said, it unlocks your lineups. This is, if you get the sleepers right, like last week, Molinari, I mean, even the Jim Hermans who win the tournament or the Stuart Sinks, again, that's the key to winning these things. And so if you saw my previous First Slick show, this is kind of a blast from the past, but Camilo Villegas, the guy was in Fuego last weekend. His stats, the only thing that hurt him was his putter. But actually beat Garcia on approach and total tee to green. He was just under Garcia, but ridiculous how he's playing. And what we're looking for is the very accurate guys with the irons. Ben is one of his better surfaces, but still slightly negative. Camilo was doing some family things. Had to work his way back on tour. Went through the Corn Ferry. His first PGA event back was last weekend at the Sanderson Farms, but ended up at 23rd. And we're talking $6,300 if you're going to take a flyer. I'm liking Camilo. If he can keep that same form and just even not gain with putting, but be neutral or just lose a stroke, it could be ridiculous. I mean, he could be top 10. Will Gordon, the model that I had everywhere, he just kept popping. So he just made it under the 20th. So obviously the top 20 guys in the model. He came in 21st. And when I saw his ownership projection and cost, I was like, I got to bring him up. Less than 2% owned, $6,300. Hits the ball a mile. Him and the next guy I'll talk, or one of the guys also I have on here. Pretty good iron player. Ben is slightly negative for him, but decent recent form. I'm not going to say he's got great recent form. If you go back, he had a 3rd at the Travelers, a 27th at the Wyndham, but just recently missed at Corrales and a 53rd at Safeway. But again, I think the course suits him, and I will try to get him in some of my lineups. And then this is a crazy one, and that's why I call this time to gamble. Francesco Molinari is going to make his debut for the 2020, well, I don't say the 2020 season, but it's been a long time. I think he played, at WGC Mexico. He had a 53rd way back, I think, like in February. But he made a big move. So he left London, went to California, had to get all that settled. He was having, I think, a little back issues that he dealt with too. But he's coming here as his first appearance, and he actually had a 4th place finish here back in 2016. And I'm guessing he's trying to get ready for, the season, but also getting ready for the Masters. And the guy is probably the best iron player when he is on. And so, he doesn't hit it long off the tee, but he's accurate, but his irons are ridiculous. So I kind of put him in a Paul Casey class, not as long off the tee, but like I said, just probably one of the best iron players when he's on. And you got to remember this guy, and everybody after the Masters when he took 5th and, had that kind of fall apart. But, what people don't remember is he actually had a 16th at the U.S. Open after that. And he won the API, so the Arnold Palmer Invitational, also in 2019. So all I want to state is it is definitely a gamble. We have no idea what kind of form he's going to be in. But for that price and that kind of leverage, you're getting you know, one of the best ever. I would say I put him up there. And hey, when it comes to definitely approach. Tyler McCumber, I was kind of mentioning Will Gordon. He falls in the same bucket. Really long off the tee, good recent form. He's, probably a better play than Will Gordon if you just look at the data. But he has no history at Shriners either. But he had a 6 and a second. So 6 at Sanderson Farms, a second at Corrales. And where he just really struggles is with the putter. But his last couple events has been gaining strokes with the putter. So maybe he's found something. Worst case, we can say he's definitely gained some confidence. So that all stays together with off the tee, the iron, and the putter stays at least even neutral or just a little positive. He could be a great play down here. And then lastly, not super sneaky by any stretch, but because he's at 8%, I typically try to pick guys that are like, as you see, like a couple percent owned. But I had to put Seb Straka in here because, he just had the miscut. So I think a lot of people are going to be off him. But he is still coming at 8% owned, but he's at 6,500. And the guy just gains a shitload on bent greens. Half stroke putting is a lot. If you're gaining a half stroke or more, you are a specialist on this scratch. You love it. And other than that, recent miscut, he has, 14th at the Safeway, 33rd at Corrales. He just played here once before and did miss the cut. But everything I think from a player, from his irons, and hits the ball pretty decent length and accurate off the tee, I think he could make some noise, at least get you the weekend, get some points. So I'll be playing some Seb. And then my winner. That's right. Bitches, I'm going with Tony Finau to get his second win on the PGA Tour. I think this is sets up perfect for Tony. I kind of mentioned already a lot of things, and it's not, some hot take by any stretch, but 14, less than 15% owned right now. But bent is his best surface, and the guy is starting to learn how to close or finish on Sundays. Past it was just, looked great on coming off, looked amazing coming into Sunday, and then just fell apart. Great recent form with the 8th at the U.S. Open, a 17th at the Tour Championship, a 5th at the BMW, a 4th at the PGA. And then he also has a ton of good history here. He also moved to the Arizona area, left Utah, and I'm guessing, again, I'm going with kind of plays in these kind of conditions. It's a wide open course, and it's a gettable course, and this guy can go low. So I'm going to throw it out there. We're going to go with Tony Finau to be my winner. And that's really it for this. Again, I would really appreciate it greatly if you would like what you're seeing here. If you're getting value from it, share it with anybody that's also getting into or is into the golf fantasy world or betting. And subscribe. I need all the subscribers I can get. I'm going to keep putting this content out as long as I slowly see progression. We are getting a small fan base, but it is building. And I greatly appreciate your time and all the best of luck. I will have one more piece of content. I will put out my diamonds in the rough. So I'm going to do more digging and finding those kind of hidden gems where I can. And I'll throw that out. Just a quick 5-minute show for tomorrow. And that's it. See you.